All right, so we have light, temporarily. Hello, hobby homesteaders. Welcome back to Peek's Peak. Today we are working inside the garage because we have the outside finished. We are going to get started on some wiring. Initially what I'm going to do is put in a switch and boxes for the 6 lights that are the main lights for the building. And then I'm going to run the wiring and put an extension cord end on it so I can plug it up and we'll have lighting in here before I get into the box and doing all of that. We want to kind of get it lit up to where we can work in here whenever we want to. And Cameron is going to start putting in some 2x4 structure that we can hook our insulation to up in the top. So while we got the scaffolding, we're going to get that stuff set up to where we can be ready for our insulation. We actually have picked up our insulation. We went this morning and picked that up along with the wiring to run to the house and the conduit and all of that. So drop some money at Lowe's today. We'll do the insulation on a separate video just because that'll be a pretty big process, I think. And we haven't mapped out exactly everything we're gonna do as far as that goes. So we'll make a plan and then we'll share that with you. But today, it's gonna be all electrical today and probably in the next few days actually. But all right, let's go ahead and get started. Woohoo! Woohoo! All right, so we have light temporarily. So we put up these 6 little light fixtures, which let me tell you, the little fixtures that I chose were the biggest pieces of junk you've ever seen. Brittle plastic, I broke the first 3 before I got them up. And so they're kind of held together with electrical tape. And I tell myself I'm gonna get some new ones and replace them, but you know how that kind of stuff goes. So anyway, what we did was we ran an extension cord over here and I wired up my light switch so that we can have lights in here while we finish the rest of the electrical. We've got a lot of work left to do in here electrical wise. We're gonna mount the box there in the corner. We've got to dig a trench and run the service wire over here to feed it. So what I'm gonna do is get the box mounted, get all my electrical outlets put in, and run the wire, get the box all wired up, and then we'll dig the trench and run the main wire over to it and give it live power. So this gets us going until we finish everything up. All right, guys, Monday is in the books. We got our lights all wired up and ran to a temporary extension cord. And then I have mounted the box and started running wires to the first outlets. I got one cut out for an outside outlet over there. And while I've been working on that, Cameron has been putting in boards for our insulation to nail to. So basically putting in nailers in between all the trusses. That's it for Monday. We'll be back at it tomorrow, probably finish up doing all the wiring inside here and all these nailers. And then maybe Wednesday we'll get to digging the ditch and running the cable over to the house and getting wired into the main box. Wiring again today. And what I'm gonna be doing is pulling wire and hooking up receptacles. I'm gonna get everything drug into the box here. And then probably tomorrow we'll dig our ditch and get ready to run our wire to this box. Now, I'm running this as a sub panel, even though this is a main service box. So I've actually got to go back and pick up a grounding bar and a ground rod so that I can ground the building separately and keep the neutrals and ground separate so that everything is hooked up right for a sub panel. So got to pick up a few more things to be able to do that. But today we're just going to try to get the building, everything wired up in here and ready to roll. Screwdriver's at?
Flathead.
Right on. All right. Get your flathead screwdriver. Just open these up, and the screw's already right in the middle. So when you put it on here, don't push real hard because you don't want to pop the screw out. Just set it right there and start screwing it in with your screwdriver. And you twist it clockwise. Twist it to the right, just like that. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Tighten it down until it's snug, but we don't want to crush it. You don't have to push hard, you just get it right in the slot. And then just hold it steady and twist. There you go. Hold on. Because we want to tighten them all the way down. Look, you're going to tighten it down, just like that. It's nice and snug, your slot's straight.
You can still see under here.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, good job. You're forgetting your bag of outlet covers.
I have to do it?
You got to do every one of them. Go all the way around the building, okay? There's no power to the electric service here. We're running these lights off an extension cord, so there's no power in these boxes. But, Kate, just so you know, when there's no cover on these, you see these screws in the side here? They're electric, and they will shock you. So if you ever have a cover off and the power's on, don't get near that because that'll shock you. All right?
Is the power on?
The power is off. For some reason we started having issues with the microphone on the GoPro. So what I'm telling you about is it's Wednesday morning and we're getting ready to dig a ditch from the house over to the garage so we can lay our conduit and put our wire through. crescent wrench, grab those bolt cutters, and grab that spool. All right, guys, I'm actually going to take just a second here to share a tool that I use because Dave over at Pale Horse Outdoors was asking me what's best to cut a chimney hole in sheet metal. And I came across this tool called a RexBeti. It's basically a nibbler that attaches to your drill. And it works great for cutting out for receptacles and lights and, you know, cut out for your flue pipe and all that. So it's called a RexBeti, and it just chucks up in your drill here, just like that. And it is actually double-sided, so there's another nibbler under here, and you can change them out. I actually broke one, and it came with a spare, so you've got 3 tips, and I think they're all the same. It comes with a step bit, so you drill this all the way in, and it makes a hole big enough to stick this nibbler in. Now, I'm not going to drill a hole, but I've got a scrap piece of sheet metal here, and I'm going to just run the nibbler on it and show you how it works real quick. So you get this down in the hole, and you can kind of just drive it around. That'll be enough to show you how it works. So you can cut out whatever you need. So if you mark your metal good, you can just drive it right around there, make nice little cuts. So it works really well. Now, one thing you gotta watch is it cuts, can't even hardly get a hold of them. You can see those little moon-shaped splinters it makes. It throws those everywhere. So if you'll get them in your hands, and you know, they're like little metal splinters. So you gotta watch out for that. But yeah, RexBeti, it's a great little tool for sheet metal. Alright, ground rod is buried, 8 foot. Alright guys, so I am getting ready at this point, one, to fix a mistake that I made because I went and bought my 2224 CERT mobile home feeder wire. And I've got this wire ran on a 70 amp breaker out of the main panel. So this is a sub panel. And in our sub panel, I'll show you here, we put a separate ground bar in, run us a ground rod out for the building. So our neutral and our grounds will be separate. And we've got a 100 amp disconnect here. It's not going to be a 100 amp panel because we're running it off of a 70 amp breaker out of the main panel. But the last time I did this, for my daughter's apartment, I ended up with a whole bunch of extra wire because I overestimated how much I needed. So guess what I did this time? That does not reach here where we need to connect. And I'm not going to buy a whole nother 70 foot of wire. So I went and bought the stuff to correct my mistake. I got me a junction box, which will mount right here. I got these splice blocks, which will splice each wire together. I got 4 of those. I got heavy duty heat shrink that will fit over these splice blocks. So once we put it together, put it over the splice block, shrink it down, then we'll have these sealed up nice and neat. So that's what we're doing now. And I hate to do it this way, but it's kind of the only choice I have. Everything is all set up, run through conduit, and hooked into the main panel with that shut off. So we're going to get this hooked up today, and then we'll have a live box. We'll be ready to roll. Some of this I didn't get footage of because, you know, when you're working and frustrated and that stuff's not going quite right, it's tough and you miss some stuff. But anyway, we got everything spliced together and sealed up, and I will tell you, this heat shrink tubing that they had at Lowe's, 7/8 inch heat shrink, man, that stuff was fantastic. I don't know exactly how it works, but when you shrink it down, it even is adhesive lined. So it like melts glue inside there. It's like, looks like hot melt glue or something. But yeah, it just kind of oozes out the ends and seals it up. Fantastic stuff. I hated to have to splice this together like that, but it's what I was left with, so it worked out. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these wires connected, hooked up, and get my ditch buried, and it's gonna be time to get cleaned up and go to church. So, making progress. They're making progress. All right, so I have decided. All right, so I've decided to go up here and wire up a security light for the front of the building too. So I hadn't done that yet. Got the box all wired in. I ran some wire for my 220 this morning, which my camera was dead, so we missed that, but I'll show you what I put in there. So we're gonna run some wire over here, put a box in, cut a hole, and yeah, that'll just about wrap it up. I need to run power over to the light switch that'll feed these two security lights, and we'll be wired. Got our motion lights. All right, guys, so I've got all of my electrical done. We got everything all hooked up here. I've got the 220 breakers taped off because we've got those wires stubbed out but not hooked up to anything yet. Got outlets running one direction on the building, and this one for the GFI outlets, and then we've got lighting. We ran 220 over here for the welder, put a junction box up there, and that's for the lift. So we have like 20 outlets in the building. We've got one on every post, and we've got a couple on some of the posts back by where the workbench is gonna go. We've got an outside receptacle right out the front of the building. We've got our two security lights wired in, so we are in business, ready to move on to installation. So appreciate y'all watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Y'all take care.